The digital tool that I chose to review is called Speak It. It's a Chrome application that is free to those with Chromebooks. And the reason I chose this was really throughout this course, I've been trying to find things that are relevant to what I use in my school, just so that I can apply it to my students and share with coworkers. And I have a bunch of students who have a real difficult time with reading. And we've been focusing on the iPad really as the text to speech applications there, so they can highlight their text and it'll read it for them. However, our district is more of a Chromebook district, and so I found that this application Speak It is pretty similar to the iPad's text to speech, except it's on the Chromebook, so it's a lot more realistic to what I do and the goals that we're working on with my students is now they can bring their Chromebooks and we can use this. So what Speak It does is it pretty much you select the text that you want and it'll read it to you as much as you select. We're going to we'll go to the class page, for example. And so whatever you highlight, so if I highlight all this right here, just this paragraph, and then I go here, convert text to speech, and hit play, what it's going to do is it would read the information here. It's not reading out loud as I'm recording this video, and that seems to be one of the downfalls, is when teaching or when sharing this tool, for some reason, if the screen recorder, so I'm using Screencastify, if that's recording, the audio output for the Speak It application won't come out. But what it's doing is reading, and then I can actually pause it. So say it stopped here after reading this first sentence, and I paused it here. If I wanted to have a discussion with my students, I would go back, and when I hit play the next go around, it would pick up right here, right where I left off. So it would start with the such skills include, which is good for students who need this to take notes, or even just for teachers if they want to have a discussion in between reading this book. Their students could read or have it read to them, and then they can pause at certain points to discuss and highlight key features. Then you can pause it again and have another discussion. So say now we're at this sentence. We can discuss and then we can keep going. The pause play feature will continue to work for the duration. So for this instance, it would go throughout the paragraph unless I clicked here up at the stop button, and then it would just turn off the recording. And then in order to continue to play, see, I would open it up and I would have to highlight something new right here.
Assistive technology.
Oh, and actually now it's working.
Accessing the general education curriculum, educational learning technologies are used to teach students essential skills
and then I can pause it.
Needed in the content areas. Such skills include matching, associations, reasoning, decision making, and problem solving.
So you can see there, then I'm going to pause it. I could have a discussion, and then I'll continue, and it's going to pick up right here where I left off, where it says in addition.
In addition, students must also possess good reading and writing skills, organizational skills, math skills, verbal and listening skills in order to be successful in the classroom.
One of the downfalls, or one of the limitations I should say with this, is the feedback, the auditory and visual feedback. It's not really adjustable. So for students that need it at a slower pace, in this free version of the Speak It application, you can't really adjust the speed at which the reader is speaking it back to you, which for some students that might not work as well for them. But as you can see, it's really easy to use and real straightforward. You don't really have to modify much in this instance, as the Speak It will pretty much read whatever is there. And it just provides additional feedback to either the child or the adult that's using this program. The features are presented and it's pretty well organized. I mean, the directions that come through in usage and download were pretty straightforward, and it only took about a minute to add onto the browser. And as you can see, it goes all the way through. You can do Google. There were some settings, but as mentioned before in this free version, it was hard to adjust those voice and the rate of speech. Let's see. And anyone who can really use the Chromebook or has access to the Chromebook would be able to use this. For some of my students that are more physically impaired, it would be difficult for them to independently use it, but then they also have difficulties with using the Chromebooks independently. So that kind of goes hand in hand at depending on the level of the user. But as you can see here, if I go back in, so here there's 3 sentences, which is also it'll show you, so when you highlight it, it counts the number of sentences that it's reading, and it'll go through them here.
Educational and learning aids include picture cards,
So now we picked right back up.
flashcards, text-to-speech software, audiobooks, internet resources, raised line paper, graphic organizers, personal reminder systems, touch technologies, and many, many more devices and software.
And now it just finished recording. You can replay or continue on to a new paragraph. So here we'll highlight this.
Academic outcomes.
And here there's
The primary
9
purpose of assistive
sentences,
technology
and it's
is to
counting down
maximize
as
an
to tell you how
individual's
many
ability
left.
in completing a task by
Now there's
minimizing
7
barriers
sentences
and
left that they have to
unleashing
read.
potential to achieve desired outcomes. There are 3 basic categories.
And once again, you can pause it, and it shows you how many sentences are left from what you highlighted. I think this digital tool will be a great solution for many public school districts or anyone with low funding. This would really be a good option. If anybody who has a Chromebook would be able to utilize this at no additional cost. And I believe considering it is a free, easy to access application, I really do believe that it's pretty valuable, and I will be using this a little bit more with my students. I had a couple of them try it out this week, and they thought it was pretty cool that they were able to do everything on their Chromebooks. And again, most of them, like if you have headphones in, nobody would even know that, that's what you're doing, is that you're listening to it instead of reading it in your head. As I know, a lot of times students that are higher functioning or those, they don't really want others to know that they have accommodations. So this would also be a good way to hide the fact that, if you're told to read something in class, you can just stick the headphones into your Chromebook and have it read to you, and you really wouldn't notice any difference. So overall, I would definitely recommend this digital tool as a way to help those who have difficulties reading or just need that extra auditory feedback. Anyone who's an auditory learner would benefit from this as well, as there's a lot of information out there on the web that students are expected to learn and to read, and those that can't process it visually or through reading have a difficult time, and this would be a great accommodation for them.